back to Talk Sofía, the easy English podcast where we learn the language the way it's actually used in real life. I hope you're having a great day, whether you're at home, out for a walk, or doing something in the kitchen. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. And before we jump in, just a quick reminder.
Honestly, one of those quiet, ordinary days. Nothing big happening, nothing dramatic. But sometimes those are actually the best kind.
I completely agree. Peaceful days are great for learning. Your mind is relaxed and open.
Exactly. And today's topic actually fits that calm energy because it's something many learners think they've got figured out, but still feel unsure about when they actually see it.
That's right. Today we're talking about something you've probably come across many times in movies, in stories, or when listening to native speakers, and that is would have plus the past participle. When learners see sentences like I would have called you or she would have helped, they often stop. They know each word individually, but together the meaning feels blurry and honestly a little scary sometimes.
So true. We hear this all the time. I know would, I know have, I know past verbs. But the moment they're together, my brain just shuts down.
So let's say this clearly right from the start. If this structure confuses you, that is completely normal. It doesn't mean your English is weak. The truth is, this isn't usually taught well at beginner levels. And when students reach B1 or B2, it suddenly shows up everywhere. But nobody really explains why we use it, only how.
So today we're not just memorizing rules, we're understanding the meaning, the feeling, and how it works in real conversations.
And one more thing. In this episode, we're covering would have been, and how they both come up naturally when people speak. That's why this lesson is especially good for B1 and B2 learners. If you're A1 or A2, don't worry, you can still listen and just take in the feeling. Think of it like hearing a song before you learn the words.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, let's start gently. First question, Marcos, go ahead.
All right. When you hear this sentence, I would have helped you, what do you feel?
I feel regret.
Exactly. And today's topic actually fits that calm energy because it's something many learners think they've got figured out, but still feel unsure about when they actually see it.
Let's break that down slowly. Picture this. Yesterday, your friend was moving to a new apartment. You wanted to help, but you were sick, so you didn't go. The next day you see your friend and say, I would have helped you, but I was sick. That sentence tells us three things.
1, you wanted to help. 2, you didn't help. 3, there was a reason why.
That's why it's such a human structure. Native speakers use it when they look back and think, if things had been different, let's look at another example. You would have passed the exam, but you got sick. What does that mean?
And in English, we use this structure to talk about regrets, missed chances, polite explanations, and looking back on things.
That's right. Today we're talking about something you've probably come across many times in movies, in stories, or when listening to native speakers, and that is would have plus the past participle. When learners see sentences like I would have called you or she would have helped, they often stop. They know each word individually, but together the meaning feels blurry and honestly a little scary sometimes.
It means you didn't pass, but you had the ability to.
Exactly. The situation got in the way. This is important. Would have often shows ability plus condition. If the condition had been different, the result would have been different too. Now let's talk about the form, but without any pressure.
Just understanding, no grammar fear.
The structure is simple. Would plus have plus participle. For example, would have gone, would have seen, would have done, would have helped. And the past participle is the same one you use with have, like have eaten, have finished, have been.
And that brings us to another very common form, would have been.
Yes, this one comes up a lot in everyday conversation. For example, it would have been amazing. That means it wasn't amazing because it didn't happen. Or that would have been nice, a soft, polite expression of regret. English speakers use this all the time to sound warm and thoughtful, not harsh or blaming.
That's why this structure matters so much in social situations. It helps you express feelings without sounding aggressive.
Let's pause here for a second. If you're listening right now and thinking, oh, so that's what it means, you're doing really well. Don't try to memorize 10 sentences. Just hold on to the feeling. Now let's move to bin. This one is easier if you think about experience.
Absolutely.
Let's start with something many learners deal with every day: work. Imagine you applied for a job. You prepared well, but on the day of the interview, you were incredibly nervous. Later, you think back and say, I would have answered better, but I was too nervous. That sentence is powerful.
It shows you had the ability, but something stopped you. Nerves, pressure, stress.
Now compare that to a common mistake learners make. They say, I answered better, but I was nervous. That's confusing because answered better suggests you actually did well, when in reality, you didn't. So would have answered better protects the real meaning.
Another work example, your manager asks why you weren't in yesterday. You reply calmly, I would have come, but my child was sick. Notice how polite that sounds.
You're not making excuses aggressively. You're explaining the situation with calm and respect. Now let's move to relationships because this structure gets very emotional there.
Very emotional, yes.
Imagine you forgot a close friend's birthday. Later you see them and say, I would have called you, but I lost my phone that day. You're showing intention. You're saying, I cared, I wanted to reach out, but something got in the way. That's very different from saying, I didn't call you, which sounds cold. Would have adds warmth and humanity.
Now let's talk about common mistakes. One big one is using would have when there's no condition attached. Learners say, yesterday I would have gone to the market. That sentence feels incomplete. We're waiting for a reason.
Right. Would have needs a why. You need to say, I would have gone to the market, but it was raining. Without that second part, the sentence just hangs in the air.
Another mistake is mixing up would have with would like to. Learners sometimes say, I would have to call you. That's a completely different structure. Would have called you is about the imaginary past. Would like to call you is about present or future desire. Small difference in words, huge difference in meaning.
And here's a quick comparison to clear things up. I didn't help him. Just a fact. I couldn't help him. No ability. I wouldn't help him. A choice not to. I would have helped him. Willing, but no opportunity.
4 sentences, 4 completely different meanings. That's why grammar isn't boring, it's meaning.
Now the part where most learners get stuck. Actually using this while speaking.
Because understanding is one thing, but the moment you open your mouth, your brain suddenly goes blank.
So true. People tell us, I know the rule, but when I speak, I panic. That panic is completely normal, and we're going to work through it together right now. Common situation, someone says to you, why didn't you come yesterday? Many learners reply, I was busy. That's fine, but it's very flat. Now listen to this instead. I would have joined you, but I had a family commitment. Feel the difference? It's warmer. It shows intention and sounds much more natural.
And remember the form would have plus past participle. Join, joined. Help, helped. Go, gone. If you remember that pattern, you've already solved half the problem.
Let's try a health example. I would have exercised more, but I was too tired after work. That sounds real and human. Compare it to the common mistake. I would exercise more, but I was tired. That's confusing because would exercise sounds like a habit. We're talking about the past here, so would have exercised is the correct form.
Family situations come up a lot too. I would have called my parents earlier, but I got busy. That carries emotion and honesty without any drama.
Now let's bring in would have been more clearly. Imagine someone asks, how was the party? You reply, it would have been fun, but I arrived really late. Meaning, the fun part was already over by the time you got there.
And a common mistake here, learners say it would be fun, but I arrived late. That mixes up the time. English is very sensitive about tense, so always ask yourself, am I talking about a past situation that didn't go as expected? If yes, use would have been.
Here's something that really helps with fluency, thinking out loud. Instead of going silent while you think, you can say things like, I would have said yes, but I needed more time. That keeps the conversation moving and buys you a moment to think.
And in social situations, imagine someone invited you somewhere and you couldn't go. You explain, I would have come, but I wasn't feeling well. That's polite, warm, and respectful. English speakers really value soft language, and this structure delivers exactly that.
Let's do a quick spoken correction. A learner says, I didn't tell you because I forgot. That's correct, but very direct. Now soften it. I would have told you, but it completely slipped my mind. That sounds more natural and more emotionally aware. Now let's move to been. This one is easier if you think about experience.
Work scenario, you missed a meeting, you explain, I would have attended, but I got caught up in another task. Much better than just saying I missed it. It adds clarity, responsibility, and natural flow.
Now would have been with emotions. Your colleague missed a presentation. You say, it would have been really helpful if you joined, but I understand you were busy, polite, empathetic, and conversational.
And you can use it to talk about experiences too. The party would have been more fun if you came. It reflects on what could have happened, the classic past unreal situation.
One more mistake to correct. Learners say, I would go to the gym, but I was tired. That doesn't work because would go doesn't match the past unreal situation. The correct version, I would have gone to the gym, but I was tired. Much more accurate and natural.
Another one. You forgot a friend's birthday. Many learners say, I would forget your birthday. That sounds very literal and strange. The natural way, I would have wished you, but I completely forgot. It adds emotion and context.
Now let's move to been. This one is easier if you think about experience.
I missed the hike yesterday. What happened?
I would have invited you, but I didn't know your schedule.
It would have been so fun if I'd joined.
Next time I'll make sure to let you know. We would have all enjoyed it together.
See how natural that feels? Both would have and would have been used perfectly in a real conversation.
The more you practice, the more these phrases become second nature. Say them out loud. Use them in small moments of your day. Don't worry about being perfect. Small mistakes are completely okay. The goal is confidence and clarity.
And remember the form would have plus past participle. Join, joined. Help, helped. Go, gone. If you remember that pattern, you've already solved half the problem.
So friends, keep practicing. Try building your own sentences. Notice when you hear this structure in movies, podcasts, or conversations around you. We really hope today's episode helped you. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. See you in the next one and have fun with would have and would have been.
Bye.